Hey everyone, this is Dean from Paranormal Pickers. Getting ready for our next Paranormal Picker adventure. Come on, join me. We're live again, folks. Just get the give it time to update here. So hey everyone, welcome to another Tuesday evening here at the Paranormal Pickerland. Season 3, Episode 7. Tonight we're calling this Death Becomes the Place. Check out www.tinkercottage.com. Tinker Guru, Executive Director, all box checked. In the Tinker Swiss land. Samantha.
Hi, thanks so much for having me back again.
I know we're all like, we don't even need to say last names anymore.
Nah, at this point.
You're Samantha H according to your little dot there.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many letters in my first name that the second name is just long enough that it's like, I guess I could shorten the first one to Sam.
Yeah, because you always go by Sam, right?
Yeah, usually.
Do you like Sam or Samantha better? That's always a good question.
Oh, I go by Sam, Samantha, Sammy, whatever.
And which one do you like better?
I think most people tend to call me Sam, so that's probably what I'm used to the most.
But
honestly, it doesn't matter to me. There's some people in life, my grandma always has called me Samantha, and she's from New Jersey. So, she's got that Samantha. Well, she started calling me Sam recently because she heard my sister and, other cousins and stuff call me Sam. So she started calling me Sam, and I'm like, oh, no, Grandma, no. You don't call me that. Because it's just weird. You get used to hearing somebody call you something a certain, for so long. And then all of a sudden they decide to change up your name.
Yeah, especially in the New Jersey dialect,
Yeah.
Now, you were speaking to me last week about about said grandma, and that you and her actually had a trip over to England. So that was exciting.
We did. We went to Paris and London.
No, you have is that your ancestry or?
So my ancestry, I'm kind of a mutt. I've got English, Irish, Swedish, Czechoslovakian, Russian, Austrian, Danish.
Kind of like me.
Yeah, I think that pretty much is all of them. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I identify more with my Irish heritage. But honestly, I'm just a mutt. So my grandma.
Is that what you're saying?
What's that?
You identified you're Irish? Is that you're a heavy drinker? Is that what you're saying?
Between the Irish, Russian, and German, I'm sure we've,
found a drop or two, right?
Found a drop or two. Well, it was St. Patrick's Day weekend.
That's right.
Everything's Irish on St. Patrick's Day, though.
It's funny. And I didn't wear green. No, I actually did wear green, but I didn't have any green bear or anything like that. So.
Oh, bummer.
Well, welcome to the show again, everyone. And without further ado, again, Death Becomes a Place. We'll go over some of the deaths that happened at the museum and talk about stuff that just, here and there stuff. But again, Tinker Swiss Cottage was seen on Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunter. I believe it's season 8, episode 20.
Yep.
Called Fear Factory. So if you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for? Get out there and check that out. You can find Ghost Hunters everywhere on all the little app channels that they have out there now. Coming up in April 15th is a paranormal investigation from 7 to 11 with none other than Ghost Head Soup. I've heard of those guys.
I have too. I hear they're amazing.
It's pretty decent. I do have to say that Mark is going to be there that evening.
Good.
And Tim and Amanda might be showing up, and Amber.
Ooh,
so
perfect.
we're gonna have some good folks out there.
Here, huh?
That's right. The Tinkers missed us, so we got to go back and say hi.
I think they have. It's been a few months since we've had anybody in the house investigating. A lot of folks don't like to come out in the winter months. So I think they're all ready to start chit chatting again.
They're all doing what we're doing, trying to get out of hibernation.
Yeah.
Another museum event is May 13th. This one is with Haunted Rockford and Henson and Bartell Paranormal. Same kind of investigation from 7 to 11. So if you go there with Ghost Head Soup, go there for Henson and Bartell as well. Great guys. Um, and then for the Paranormal Access, you have April 29th, May 5th, and May 6th with Chris Fleming. So he's got 3 days. I believe the 5th still has tickets. I don't know if that's sold out yet.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard from him yet. The last two, April 29th and the May 6th, both of the events, they sold out within 10, 12 hours.
That's good.
Which is fantastic. So I don't know if he still has May 5th tickets. It's Cinco de Mayo. We'll go have tacos and then we'll investigate, right?
That's right. I do believe I will be volunteering for the 5th.
Yes. Yep. Me and you will go have some tacos and
and then spend the rest of the night in the baño. And let's not forget the Kling brothers and Richard. Is it Estep?
Yeah.
And so Kling brothers, of course, you know them from Ghost Lab. Richard Estep is Travel Channels, Paranormal 911, and Haunted Hospitals. They're going to be there July 28th and July 29th. Well, actually, I'm sorry. July 28th at Tinker Swiss or Tinker Cottage for the meet and greet, pizza party, and then some other guests could potentially appear, they say.
Yep, and we'll be doing an investigation that night.
Awesome.
And then on Saturday, they're at Veterans Memorial, where they'll have like kind of a paracon during the day. And then
what's that all about? Because I see that they're going to have vending, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I was told, hey, we're thinking about doing an investigation at Tinker and Veterans Memorial. These dates work for you? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And next thing I know, it's a whole paracon. And I was surprised me. I was like, oh, we're doing a pizza party. Cool. But no,
right there.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So yeah, at the Veterans Hall on the 29th, if you're still in town, if you're making travels to come out this way, definitely do it. I mean, the two places are phenomenal. There's going to be vendors and other things like paranormal, spiritual, macabre, however you say it. The Kling brothers, and they will be also on stage talking about their personal experiences, some behind-the-scenes secrets, and extensive knowledge of the supernatural. There you go, with Brad and Barry. So definitely something to look forward to this year. Happening in Rockford out, man. Rockford's happening right now.
Well, and then on top of all those things, we do our own events as well, where we get more local guest speakers. Haunted Rockford, I mean, oh my goodness, the amount of events she's got planned for this year is incredible. And I'm so excited to get to work with Kathy on some of these upcoming events. And I'm telling you, if you're in the Rockford area, definitely you'll find something spooky fun to do.
Well, there's people out there saying hello and then, hey, Dean Thompson. So on my end, I can only see you as Facebook user. So if you want to comment, just put your first name in there or let Facebook do the agreement. You just click on that link, let StreamYard and Facebook agree to each other so I can see your lovely name and face. So hello, thanks for saying hi. And want to go ahead and start the presentation part of it. Excuse me. So again, we got the Tinker Swiss Cottage, my lovely picture. So death becomes a place. So I would like to go back a little bit, way back. Go back. So yeah, this is when we're not creating the world, but it's interesting, which I found out. So what is it? The Hilo volcano. So the Hilo volcano is in Robert's journals. So I searched that. So this is where he grew up. He was born there and grew up a little bit. I forgot how old he was when he came over.
So he was born in Honolulu, and then when he was about 5 years old, the family moved back to the States.
Okay, but they were always back and forth to Hawaii.
Well, he did go back one other time, and that was this entry here. On April 24th, he and his first wife, Mary, got married, and then they took, well, it was a 10-week honeymoon, 1 week to travel, 8 weeks in Hawaii, and a week to travel back. But Robert and Mary, along with his mother and her sister, all went on honeymoon to Hawaii.
So you can see from 1870, they reached Hilo at 2 p.m. So he's calling out this actual volcano. Set out for Hilo at a 6.5 hour reaching, or 6.5, reaching there at 6. Rain hard all afternoon. And then he also mentions about his sketchboard and stuff like that. So kind of that time period. So Hilo, the volcano, something interesting to consider here. Now, I heard not too long ago that microbes from Hawaiian volcanic environments may explain early life on Earth and Mars.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
That the bacterial communities in the centuries old lava are actually, they're starting to understand it more of how life may have existed on Mars and Earth early on. So there are bays in Hawaii that are starting to get these uh, microscopic stuff coming up, bacteria coming up and messing with the water. Um, so I know that, like somebody was saying, so like 10,000 years ago, if somebody sneezes on a glacier and your that is frozen and then it thaws out, that germ is released back into the environment.
Really?
So think about COVID.
Ugh.
and maybe Robert visiting Hilo at the time had sneezed and now he's causing all this havoc.
Oh goodness. I don't know about blaming Rob, but I mean, I suppose stranger things have happened.
And you would never know, you
Yeah.
know. But they are finding these frozen germs that are now, when they thaw out or released by volcanic lava, that bacteria is getting released back into the environment.
That sounds like some sort of like zombie movie intro. But oh, I don't know. What do I
Oh,
know?
it's called science.
Again, sounds like a zombie movie introduction.
Well, anyway, I wanted to bring that up because it is conversation that's out on social medias and everything, and actually radio. I heard someone talking about the radio the other day, so
Hmm.
it's interesting. And the fact that he's been there, which would be awesome. I mean, could you imagine going up to the rim and looking down and saying, "Hey"?
Oh no. I would probably trip and fall in, so I just
Yeah.
avoid.
So yeah, that would be pretty wild. So, who's died at the Tinker? So we know Josephus Door died in the Red Room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yep.
was his bedroom. And the thing about this room too, if you haven't been there, um, is that Robert actually cut out part of the space and put a window there because Josephus was bedridden, and he made this window so he can see outside. I
Yep.
mean, that's a pretty good guy, man. Bob's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
So Josephus, was he the first one that died in the property? Do you know?
As far as we're aware, yes. Now, as far as the Tinkers go, yes, I should say, because we do have a Native American burial mound on the property.
Right, I'll
Um,
bring that up later. I got that
as
at the
far
end.
as far as tinkers and doors go, yes, Josephus was the first in the family to pass away on the property.
And this red room is hit and miss at times, but it's charged up, and I know that it was pretty much the original house.
Yes, so it's the first phase of construction.
Yeah. And it's in a lot better shape because you guys been painting, new wallpaper, and everything like that. So that picture here probably was like they probably
thousands in that one.
You probably have my my bacteria in there.
Well, I wouldn't doubt it with as many times as you guys have been out to investigate.
Exactly. So this here, I know it's kind of blurry, but this is a hair example, and this was from a gentleman, I believe his name is Guy.
Yes, his name was Guy Hurd. He was Jesse. Jesse was Mary's youngest niece and Robert's second wife. This was her first husband.
And he died young, right?
He did. Yeah, he was in his lower 40s when he passed away. So unfortunately, Jesse and Guy were only married for 3 years. They had gotten married, moved to Chicago, where he had a tailor shop and dressmaking studio. But within a year of their marriage, they moved to Rockford because Robert had little rental houses along the west side of the property that they called the Tinker Villas. So Jesse and Guy moved into one of the villas, and he opened up his own tailor and dressmaking shop in their home right there along Winnebago Street. And then about 6 months later, so a year and a half into their marriage, he got hit with his first stroke. And for the next year and a half of his life, he suffered stroke after stroke after stroke.
Oh my gosh.
And so he went to Vermont to visit his sister, and they thought the change of air would do him good. So he went first, and then Jesse followed, and she was with him when he took his last breath. So he passed away at his sister's house in Vermont. Okay. I don't actually know where he's buried. I've tried looking records. I just can't find any indication of where he's buried. So if anybody knows or is in the Vermont area,
so the Tinker Villas, huh? So did he have like a little cult out there, Robert did, or what? What's going on?
They were his rental properties. So they were small. I mean, they were 2-story houses, but they were very small, and they were all uniform with the same color scheme and like that Swiss style. So they were rental houses, and a few of the family members lived there, as well as some of the workers and servants.
Are they still standing?
Unfortunately, they are not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Guy did not die at the place. So, okay. So we could rule out Guy. But his hair there.
Yeah.
So here we got all the rooms again. So we know that the lower right, we have the study. Now, that's where Robert passed, correct?
Yes, in the sitting room. Mm-hmm.
AKA study, AKA sitting room, AKA Ward A.
Ward A.
I like to call it Ward A because that's what Steve called it. So I was.
Robert referred to it sometimes in his journal as Ward A when somebody would get sick. Yeah, when somebody got sick, they would set up a bed in there because it had a lot of windows to bring in fresh air, and it was also right next to the front door, so the doctor could immediately walk in and take care of the patient.
So the study or the sitting room is pretty much where, if you were sick, that's where you ended up. So how many people died in the sitting room?
That's a good question. I think, honestly, Robert's the only one who actually passed away in the sitting room. By the sounds of it, everybody else passed away in a bedroom upstairs.
Okay, so did he make it? He died on the 31st, so he didn't make it to the New Year's.
He didn't. He said, I came into this world on December 31st, and I'm going out of this world December 31st. And though he had been unconscious for a couple of hours, he sure did go out of this world on December 31st, his 88th birthday.
Yep. And so now you talk about the other bedroom. So do I have pictures here? I got the sewing room. I got the dining room. I don't see the other bedrooms. I just got his master bedroom. So it would be Jesse's and Mary's.
The sewing room is attached to Mary's room.
Right.
Yep. So it is believed that the red room is likely where Marcia passed away, as well as Jesse and Marcia's brother Will. And then it's believed that it's also possible Hannah passed away there. However, Hannah may have also passed away in Mary's bedroom, and Mary may have passed away in her bedroom or the master bedroom. We're not 100% sure.
Now, familiar with Marcia, Hannah, Mary. Now, Will, was he living on the property then?
Yes. So Will's a little bit more of a recent find, if you will. So Josephus had 3 children: Hannah, Edward, and Mary. Now, Hannah was a spinster, remained so her whole life, never had any children of her own. She lived with Mary her entire life. And now Mary never had children of her own either. So then there leaves Ed Dorr. So Ed has 5 kids. He has Fred, Seth, William, Marcia, and Jesse. Not necessarily in that order. He did also have another 1 or 2, but they were stillborns, unfortunately. But he had 5 children who lived. So Fred went on to have a family of his own, and Seth went on to have a family of his own as well. When Marcia was 16 and Jesse was 14, the girls moved in with Aunt Mary, Aunt Hannah, and Uncle Rob because they were going to the Rockford Female Seminary, and then they just never left for the next 30 years. Then there's William. And I call him William in this sense instead of just Will because, like most families out there, the Dorr family repeats the name Will over and over and over again. My family is full of Steves, but in this case, so William was Marcia and Jesse's brother, and he ended up spending a good chunk of his life out in Colorado, where he ran Robert's Colorado Ranch.
Okay.
Robert put him in charge of it. So he was a confirmed bachelor his whole life, never had children of his own. So then he ends up moving to California for a very brief period of time where he has a stroke. And so Robert sends one of his most trusted men out to California on the train to go pick Will up and bring him back to the cottage so they could take care of him because he ended up wheelchair bound after his stroke. So for the last year and a half of Will's life, his room was the red room, except in the summer months. Then he was moved out to the screened-in annex porch that is no longer attached to the house. But in the summer months, they moved their bedrooms downstairs to the main level oftentimes because it would just get so hot upstairs.
There, yeah.
But in the cooler months, his room was the red room. So I want to say he passed in February, but it was roughly 1918. They were all at breakfast together, and then Will had a stroke at breakfast, and he lasted for maybe another hour and a half, and then he, once they had him in bed and comfortable, he ended up succumbing to the stroke. So he was surrounded by Jesse and his 2 brothers, Seth and Fred. So Marcia had passed away before Will did.
Jesse had passed away before Will did?
Marcia had passed away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Jesse was the last to pass there, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, that's new to me. So
about 2 years ago, we did an extended family exhibit, and part of that was doing a whole deep dive into the Tinker and Dorr family trees. So we started uncovering the fact that Will spent the last year and half of his life in the Red Room.
Well, I cannot help but say that I got a little goosebumps because now some of our evidence kind of makes sense a little bit.
You know, it's funny because since we did that exhibit, he has come through a few different times through the ghost box, which is, so I don't know if we accidentally like summoned him or,
Well,
you know,
no, I think he was. It sounds like it's just having a stroke. There may be a potential where he's starting to learn his voice
maybe.
because it's hard to say, but I think he might be a key player in the game of Clue here. I'm thinking. I think he already was. We just didn't know it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, and the other thing is, Marsha's always kind of been around, but she wasn't very vocal for all these years until we started talking to her and asking questions to her specifically. And now she's very active. So I don't know if it's just one of those things of, well, I've been forgotten, so why should I bother talking to them?
It is validation. Validation is huge. In my eyes, validation is huge on the other side because one, it helps them get the big guy faster.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I read somewhere, probably in the Bible somewhere, where it says where if you say prayers or blessing even to the people that are already condemned to hell, those blessings will still go to somebody that they may have affected in their lives. So it will pay forward.
Oh, so, interesting. Yeah. I haven't heard that.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, that's interesting. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's going to be the 15th is going to be interesting. Now I know where I want to be. So, of course, we got to bring up the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is a picture. This is the lower part of the basement, right? This is probably
This is the boiler room. Yeah.
When you found the bat.
Yes. And then if you're looking at this picture to the right is the coal chute.
Yep. Now, this here is the coffin that you displayed during Halloween time. Now, I do have, or October, I should say, I do have other pictures, but it included people in it, and I didn't want to throw anyone under the bus. Say, I didn't use that picture, So I found this simple one. So this is not a true coffin. This is just something that you use as a display, correct?
Well, it is a true coffin. It's from the 1800s.
Oh, shit.
We didn't dig it up.
Oh, okay.
It had been used as a display piece in a coffin shop in town. And then somehow a local funeral parlor ended up with it when the shop closed down. And they called Steve, my predecessor, one day, and it was like, hey, we got this old 1800s coffin. Do you want it? And who's going to say no to that? So we set it up in the parlor every October, and we stage the house for a Victorian funeral. It's nothing's supposed to pop out at you. It's to help us to explain and educate people coming in about Victorian mourning customs.
Yeah, so back in the parlor, you had
roughly 8 funerals. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give or take. I mean, if you're learning more about William, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Other things that are so there. Apparently, there's an asterisk in front of everything in history, right?
Exactly.
And then there was another place where they stored bodies. I believe this is in Robert's room.
This is in Robert's room, but as far as I know, nobody's been stored in the trunk.
There's no bodies? You didn't find any bodies in this one?
No, we didn't. Just a bunch of gloves and hats.
Now, you could probably put a couple bodies in there, I'm thinking.
You would think so, but it's got like this interior inset, so it kind of cuts it almost in half.
Oh.
So maybe.
So what is in this chest? Anything of importance?
Nothing now. Before the archives were built, a lot of artifacts were stored in closets and trunks and drawers. We have over 10,000 pieces. So before we had the archives built, everything just had to be shoved anywhere we could find it. So this one had housed like gloves and hats, a little bit of jewelry, things like that. And they were all temporary numbered, but then we ended up bringing them out of there, moving them to the archives, and once they're in the archives, they get accessioned into the collection.
Now, in the paranormal aspect of it, when you start moving this stuff around or putting it into different storage, is that something that's, are you finding stairs up the pot a little bit?
So I will say, my coworker Stephanie and I went on a little bit of a treasure hunt in January, right? Because it seems like at least once a year, I open up something and then magically there's another artifact in a drawer somewhere. And so,
that's like me at my house. I find stuff every day here.
And so, we found another pair of Robert's glasses that had been tucked into a little hiding hole in his secretary. We found a couple of, little sewing cloth things, but then we opened this trunk and the top insert has nothing in it. So we're like, and then we thought, well, let's just take out the insert just to double check. And there was tons of bags with temporary numbers of gloves and hats and jewelry and all this stuff. So we started screaming because we're like, we found actual treasure in a treasure chest, right? And so maybe also a few exclaimed expletives came in there as well. And then there was a big bam, like, calm down, sit down. And we're like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to yell. So we get
hurting my ears.
You girls just hollering up in this house. But yeah, so it did a little bit when we did that. But whenever we have a new exhibit, it's always a big change of energy. Hopefully it's always good that they're excited about the new exhibit. I'll tell you, when we did that extended family, the whole house felt fuller. Like there were more spirits there because they were being recognized.
Validated, yeah.
Yeah, and so we had a couple of psychics that we work with walk in the house and go, why are there so many here? And I would look at them and go, oh, that's our new exhibit. And they're like, there's a whole lot. There's one. I don't know if you know Tessa.
Yeah.
She had come in the house and we were upstairs in the master bedroom, and she wears a lot of protection to kind of tone down her abilities. And she took off all of her stuff to start opening up, and her eyes got kind of wide, and she slowly looked up behind me, and she goes, wow, he is really tall. And I'm like, who? And she's like, I don't know who it is. It's just some tall guy. And then there's one over there. And then it turns out to be all of Jesse and Marsha's brothers were in the room with Robert and Jesse and Mary. Like, it was a whole family thing.
Family reunion, nice.
Right, family reunion, yeah.
Or Abraham Lincoln.
Haven't seen him yet. Maybe one of these days.
So I do believe that you're gonna find a little push button or lever that opens up into the caverns down below underneath Tinker House in the bluff. There's probably like a pile of gold down there with a dragon watching over it.
I have been looking, Dean. I'll tell you what. When we redid the floors in the cooking kitchen this past fall, they were gaping holes in the floors. So before they put the new stuff in, Stephanie kind of held on to me, and I halfway crawled under the floor to see what was down there. Didn't find gold. Found part of one of his walking sticks, which is kind of cool. But
I love your determination.
No gold, no foot. One of these days.
No foot. Well, speaking of, let's go back to Death Becomes the Place. I did find an article here at Rockford. John J. Clark was a coachman for Robert, clutched a live wire and was instantly killed. So I don't know if this was on the property or not, but it shows here. I
believe it was on Main.
It was on Main Street.
I believe it was around Main and Kent Street.
So John J. Clark.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's quite a
Yeah,
few.
he had been a coachman for the Tinkers for like 14 years.
Oh, geez.
They were very close with him. They offered to have his funeral in their parlor, but the family did decline the offer.
Oh, wow. And John's probably like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And so this is the main level
Lower.
that leads out to the side door that goes out to the bridge. So one time I have an audio clip, and it's kind of long, so hopefully it's not too bad. But it's something where so Tim and I went out here before a haunted Rockford event. We came in early and we did a early ghost box session looking for a Mr. James Redman. Now, James Redman worked for Robert as well, and I discovered that he was stabbed with a knife, but I didn't know why. I didn't know the story at the time that I did the ghost box, so I was asking him some questions, and there's a part in there that, so I'm going to play the full thing, but I'm just going to give you, you'll hear us talking. You might hear some bleeps, not swearing, but like ghost box bleeps. If you make something out of it, it's entirely on, whatever you make out of it is cool. But then there's a part where I realized that my other recorder wasn't on. So then I was talking about the batteries. But right after that, you'll hear a couple responses. Now, you know me, I like to reverse my audio. So then I reversed it. Just see what you can hear on it. Potentially something that I think is there. And then I'll go on and finish up. So it is hopefully not that long. About 5 minutes maybe.
Okay.
Jim Redman. Well, actually, back to the name. So we already know that there's Thompsons out there, and we do have Laura Redman on tonight.
Hi, Laura.
So, of course, our names are part of Tinker Swiss, so they should recognize us when we come in there. Okay, I'm looking for a Mr. Jim Redman. Can you hear it okay? Hey, Jim. I just realized, you live a couple houses down here. You were working on this house, right? Are you still trying to fix the roof? Hey, Jim, if I have some repairs on my house, can you help me out? What? Maybe I shouldn't say that. No. You're tapping on your roof tonight. Hi. Wow. Your name is Jim Redman, yes? Are you still helping Bob fix the house? What part of the house did you fall off of? Jim, can you talk to me right now? Okay, thank you. Do you want me to deliver any news to your family? Did you hear that?
Those leaves blowing.
Does your family still live around here? Oh man, my recorder's off.
Oh no. Well.
Oh wait, is it? You listen to this? Go play.
This, so I don't have to pick it up.
Oh man. What's forward, what's in reverse?
Hey.
I should have got some batteries. Hey Jim, it's Dean again. My name is Dean. I heard you were doing some repairs to the house. Did something happen to you? Can you tell me what happened? How did you fall? Did you fall on something or get stabbed? Or was it an accident? It was an accident? I couldn't find anything in the newspaper for Obit.
Did he die in Rockford?
He died here, I'm thinking.
No.
Did you die here? Because the diary says J. Redman knife and belly or something like that. And he lived right up the street here. So that was the ghost box session. So there was a part there. Well, at the end, of course, I didn't know too much about it, but I know that he was stabbed in town. As you can see, he was only 32 years old, and we asked if he died here, and he said no at the end. But that part where it was forward, it sounded like it said Redmond and then something else, and then when that something else reversed, sounded like Redmond. And then that's something else. So it was like he said two things, and reverse. It was the same two things, but in reverse. I don't know if you picked that up or not.
Yeah, it sounded very similar. So it was hard for me to tell when it was reverse and when it was forward because it sounded so similar. I was having a hard time, but I always kind of have a hard time picking out words, unless like the headphones are on, and then it's a little easier.
And it's hard coming across this way too, but
it did sound like the same thing front and back.
Yeah. And on my end, I mean, I'm hearing it and I could kind of hear Redmond. And that was because I stopped talking. My battery died. So it kind of freed up a chance for the spirit to talk. And he worked for, this poor guy, stabbed because of a dispute or something with politics. I want to say this is a poor copy of the newspaper that I was able to get, but he was stabbed and unfortunately lost his life. And as you can see, here's part of some of the diary entries and some of the other details from my census bureaus. So he was putting the roof on. That was just fixed, by the way. So I would like to continue to talk to Jim and see if he's there. But the diary says, died of wound by knife and belly. And as you can see, his wife, Anne, died in 1888, isn't it, when Robert died?
Robert died 1924.
1924, okay.
Yeah.
At 88, no, sorry.
At 88, yes.
So they lived 2 houses down from Tinker. They lived at 107 in South Winnebago. But during the census, 1970, 1980 census, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little kids. 32 years old, this guy got stabbed and killed, leaving all those kids.
Awful.
And so Laura says this is kind of freaking her out, and that she should try and communicate with him. Of course, yeah, you want a Redmond to a Redmond, right?
Hey, you never know.
But yeah, especially with the roof being recently repaired, I mean, I think Jen would be an awesome spirit that we can connect with, including William now.
Yes.
So that's that, and I know last show, or the first show that you and I did, we talked about the dolls. So of course I found the pictures of the dolls.
Yep, this one here on the left is that moves, and she doesn't look too bad. She doesn't look too bad. I thought she was cute when I very first saw her, and then I got closer, and she's got teeth, and I just don't like the teeth. But she kept sliding down or falling over, and she's propped up well in this cabinet corner. Mm-hmm. There was no movement for like 2 months before you came in. And then within 24 hours of you coming in, there she's fallen. Now this other one sits in a cabinet, when they're in their home base, if you will, in the nursery. And she sits on her little chair next to the one in the white dress. And I got a pillow under the one in the white dress, so she can't move now. But this little white one will jump off her stool.
She'll move if she wants to.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess if she really wants to. We're going to hope that's not the case.
So those are the dolls. So something to look forward to when you go to the museum. In addition to looking forward to it, you get to see the skull.
In the month of October only.
So in October. Now, this skull was not part of the original collection of Tinkers, correct?
It was.
Oh, it was?
It was. So this was the skull of a young white male between the ages of 18 to 25. So it has been tested genetically because if it was from a lot of times when the Victorians studied phrenology, they would steal skulls from Native American graves. So we did have it tested to make sure and see if we needed to repatriate. But it is a young white male, so we got to keep it. But the Victorians studied phrenology, and we know it today as a phony science. There is nothing credible behind it, but the Victorians thought they were onto something. And I thought the different bumps and grooves in your cranium, your skull in general, would tell you your intelligence level and the superiority of your race. So, like I said, we know it's all fake. None of it's real at this point. But and Robert was a very scientific gentleman. He was always interested in new innovations and new trains of thought. And so, I don't believe he bought into this, considering he really didn't write much about it. We just ended up, all the guys at the time were studying phrenology, so he might as well get a skull and look it over too.
Yeah, my thing with Robert is that he was more into potentially the Egyptian beliefs of afterlife. And I think that's where the library came from. And because the library is not part of the original plan for that cottage, the library was his add-on, I believe. And if you look at it, it almost looks like the passageway that would be described in the Egyptian lore, where it would be the opening up where you can come back from the afterlife to enter in there.
Oh, okay. Is the octagonal shape, is that what you're getting at?
Something with the design on the top, and including actually the ceiling fan. It has to be like a 5-star type of thing.
See, I had somebody come through in December, and she was thinking that it may be Masonic ties to afterlife trains of thought that, she said she needed to go home and check her books and her records.
Oh, so someone's validating what I'm thinking?
But she was saying that it was her belief that he's designed this library as a way of hoping to have afterlife communications.
And that's what we were trying to do on the 88th anniversary of his 88th death. New Year's Eve. We were there that night in the library, and there was a ritual that you could do. We didn't do it.
Well, next year, 2024, will be the 100th anniversary of his death.
All right, I already booked that space, folks. Sorry, everyone. I'll be there by myself. All right. So this is another one. Oh, hey, there's a funny guy in the reflection there. Nice hat there, guy. The witch's ball? Is that what I'm looking at?
Witch's ball.
So what's a witch's ball? What's that? Not a crystal ball, is it?
No, it's not. So the Victorians had a lot of it is a supernatural belief system. So the Victorians thought that witches would creep in through the windows at night and steal their children's souls away. So this was to help ward against that evil coming into the house, because the witches would get distracted by this beautiful glass globe, and it would be filled with brightly colored ribbons, and they would spend all night trying to figure out how they could possibly get the ribbons out of there and getting mesmerized by it. So when the sun came up, they had to flee away, no child soul in tow.
There you go. That's awesome. Thanks for...
Sure.
So everyone get your witch's balls and put them out there if you have kids. So this is a nice picture of looking east from the cottage toward or across the suspension bridge. That's where the original mansion was, the Manning Mansion, right? And the train tracks where he potentially lost his foot or did lose his foot, or feet for that matter in some articles. But there's also the cemetery that was there. So this is kind of looking across Rockford right now. And the reason why I'm showing this picture is that early on, there was another paranormal investigating team out there about trains bringing death, and I know it was captured and we're not sure what it is, but there's an article about Robert selling the land to the tract of land for the railroad company to make these, to purchase the land. But one of the things that was captured there was an EVP, so to say, or voice capture that had a girl's voice that's saying she doesn't like the trains because trains bring death. And the story basically behind that is like the Spanish flu, correct?
Well, there's two, not to be funny, but there's two trains of thought there. See what I did? So there was actually a couple of times that this EVP had been captured. The first time was actually inside the library. But then there has been somebody who, other people have captured that as well in other locations, some in the garden, some in the house. So there is a thought that it was from the Spanish influenza outbreak in 1918, 1917, which we all should be very familiar with by this point. It's been referenced a number of times in the news over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. But Camp Grant got hit really hard. Within like 2 weeks, they lost 2,000 men, pretty much. And so Camp Grant had their own train depot, but they had so many bodies and not enough trains going out. So they split up the bodies. So some of them were leaving town on the train and others were brought here to the depot that used to be across, and they were laid out in the Tinker's Gardens, where a coffin shop down the road came and they built coffins on site, put the bodies in, loaded them onto the train.
if that doesn't go with the title, Death Becomes the Place, I don't know what does.
Right. Now,
Seriously.
so that's one train of thought. My personal theory, and a few others kind of have thought this as well, but I think that's Marcia saying that. She was sitting upstairs on the balcony looking out the window when she saw her Uncle Robert get hit by that freight cart and drug, and she thought she watched him die. And so I think it's that moment of panic, and it just doesn't sit with her anymore, that she doesn't like the train's horrible memory of watching her. Basically, he was like her best friend, get hit by that. So, but it could be either, or it could be both.
There you go. Very cool. So that's, and we'll talk on another show. We'll bring up another girl's voice that we captured, which is pretty damn exciting for us anyway. So stay tuned for another show. So we're going to bring you to the Greenwood Cemetery, and this is a replica, I guess, or a template of what the actual stone looks like. And I do
It's
have
the same model that Robert designed himself.
Yeah, and so the next couple slides are from the cemetery. So that's what it truly looks like. So yeah, so he designed it and made it. So he's pretty much got it intact. You can see Tinker and Door on the ribbons. You got an ivy or something growing up the cross. You have a planter in front. I don't know if that was on there originally, but
it was on his original design. Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, the Hawaiian flower, which is, what is the Hawaiian flower there?
I'm not very good with plants. I don't know.
I know it's, I know it's one of the Hawaiian flowers, and that's why he put there to represent Hawaii. So that's the flower there. And also, we got, so this is a further away picture, so you can see that the headstones are actual little rocks kind of formed in a circle. So again, could be Egyptian type of.
So he designed their stones, their headstones, to look like pillows for their eternal rest.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So if you look at the lower left, yep, there you go. So there's Robert's. He's directly in front.
So we're starting somewhere over here.
So lower left, that is Marcia. Oh.
So we got Robert.
Yeah, we have Robert. There's
Mary.
That's Mary. That one is Hannah. There's Marcia. And then Roberta was one of Marcia and Jesse's nieces. So was Esther. Willard. So this is where those wills get mixed in. So
Okay.
This is not William. William is buried over by Edward and Josephus. Willard was he was either Fred or Seth's son. So one of them had Willard and Willard Jr. The other one had a Robert who had a son Willis. So that's where, like, even some of the family members mix and match them sometimes. And I do that with my own family. You know, it's like, well, like I said, I have a lot of Steves in my family. So it's like, well, was it Steve? This one, this level. But Ella was Jesse and Marcia's sister-in-law. That's their brother Seth's wife.
And there's Seth. And then that's the other Willard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jesse.
And is that the last one?
That should be all of them. Yeah.
Yep. So I know a couple of just observations, if you care to match EVPs or voice capture or evidence. If you ask Robert what room he was in room 16. when he lost his foot. Also, Mary, and this is, you hear this all the time. Oh, it always happens at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's when Mary passed at 3 o'clock in the morning, September 4th, 1901. Uh, so yeah, in the Hawaiian flower, I don't really know what kind of flower it is. I have it in my notes somewhere, but I know it's like one of the popular flowers out there. So this day, I happened to, when I was filming this or taking pictures, I actually have an audio here. There's nothing paranormal about it other than an experiment that I was going to do. So I'm going to play that here.
Ghost Head Soup at their Tinker grave. I have a quarter here. I don't have a Hawaiian quarter, but this one is a New York quarter. I'm going to leave it at this grave, and I'm going to text Melissa and let her know that I left something at the grave of Robert Tinker. They're going to be at the cottage tonight, so hopefully she can do a session where that answer is reviewed by Robert. So Robert, I'm going to leave this. I don't know where I want to put it. I'm going to leave this quarter here for you. It's right there. It's one of our quarters. It has the name New York on the back of it. If you can take the quarter and bring it to your home and give it to Melissa, or say her name and hand it to her, or have it appear in her pocket, and or tell her what it is. Kind of a cool experiment. If you could do that for us, that would be great. We've been to your house many times and kind of see if we can get some interaction here. Again, that's a 25-cent quarter. It looks like that. It's located at the base of your tombstone here in Greenwood Cemetery. That's a like sign for Facebook, by the way.
Oh, I went like this. That was a audio from a video.
All right. Well, did it work?
So a little experiment there. This was October 1st of 2016 when I did this. And on the way home, I called her. And I said, so did you hear anything? I was quizzing her and say, anyone give you anything? Or did you hear anything? She's like, no. And I said, well, do you have anything in your pocket? She's like, yeah, that's kind of weird. And I normally never do this, but I did find a quarter and a penny in my pocket today.
A New York quarter?
No, it wasn't a New York quarter, but she says, she's like, why you ask? And she's like, it is weird that I did have a quarter and a penny in my pocket today. And I never put coins in my pocket. And I'm like, oh, well, that's either me being psychic and figuring it out, or I don't know. But it was a strange coincidence. So, and you got to test the spirits, I guess. Maybe if it happened, it would have been fun. I was wishing for a Hawaiian one. I'll have to find one and remember to bring that next time.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be a fun thing. Since I wasn't going to the Tinker that night, Melissa and Tim were covering that shift.
Okay. Yeah, well, you never know with these guys. I mean, they've made coins appear out of thin air before, so.
And you brought up the mounds. So, of course, how can we not talk about Death Becomes the Place without calling this badass out? This is a pre-Columbian conical mound used for Native American burials. And what is it, dated about 1,000?
1,100.
1,100. So, so they can't touch this, or are you able to get an X-ray or?
So there was a core sampling done on it, where it was confirmed that yes, it was a burial mound because pieces of bone and pottery and whatnot came up with the sampling. So everything got put right back in where it should be. And then we don't mess with it. We don't let our field trips play on it. We want to be respectful. So anytime we see someone like, trying to have a picnic on it, we ask them, hey, do you mind moving off the mound? We want to be respectful of those buried here. At which point they're usually like, the what? The park district does have to mow the ground, so they do mow over it. But other than that, we try to leave it as is and as much at peace as possible.
Hey, Mark. Mark joined.
Hey, Mark.
It says, this is weird. Doesn't take him much. So before we end the show, has nothing to do with death, but just shows how much fun we have at the Tinker Cottage.
I love this picture. Oh, that was back when I was still refusing to wear glasses and I couldn't see anything. Oh, I love that Kim got the misses.
Yeah. No, for another time. That's funny. So we are at the pretty much at 9:06. We're at an hour and 2 minutes in, so we did pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad.
We got a lot of death here, and I'm sure there's more and more and more that you may discover. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this William cat has to say.
Yeah, hopefully he'll chit chat with us a little bit on April 15th.
And being at the Tinker Swiss for 20 something 10 to 13 years, to learn something new is like,
yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot more to learn about the place. So yeah, like you said, you're learning stuff every day, and we'll share some of those findings on the next show. So next Tuesday, I will be traveling home from Alabama, so I may go live. If you don't see an event on their page, then we won't be here. But the following week, we'll have Becky Vickers on. Sam is going to join me next 2 weeks from now. We'll have Becky Vickers on her, so watch for that. She was supposed to be on before, but she got sick, so she couldn't make it. So looking forward to that. And then the next Tuesday after that, we'll start up with the remaining of the Tinker Swiss or the Tinker Cottage stuff.
Yay!
We'll have a couple more shows of that too. So looking forward to that. So without further ado, we'll say goodnight, everyone, and hope to see you next week with some Alabama stuff.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, hey. Wow. Oh, hey everyone, it's Dean from Paranormal Pickers. Oh, I got the preview for the next episode. Oh, yeah. Here, take a peek. Oh.
This place is haunted.